I would very much like to acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose lands the ANU operates and pay all of our respects to elders of the Ngambri and Ngunnawal peoples, past, present, and emerging. And I also extend this respect to all First Nations people in attendance today, and particularly respect the fact that the First Nations have been the traditional custodians of this country for so long and kept it so well. So we have much to learn from them. Okay,
I'll just do a quick overview and
sure.
Okay, so I'll just go through the agenda briefly. So first we'll talk about the clinics. We'll do an overview and then we'll have a presentation by Professor Vivian Holmes, and then we'll do a presentation by Associate Professor Dr. Jonathan Littlebud, and then we have a student speaker, which will be James. And then we'll go into the next part and we'll speak about the internship program. We'll do the overview, and then we'll have a presentation by Associate Professor Dr. Jonathan Littlebud. Sorry, I'm just saying. And then we'll also have a student speaker, which will be Christian Flynn. And then at the end, we'll do the Q&A. So we'll just start off by giving an overview of the clinic courses that we've got. So with the clinic courses that enable students to engage with real clients, tangible issues and hard deadlines in the real world. Placements may be undertaken at community agencies, community legal centres or non-government organisations, where students will be provided with the opportunity to explore law reform and social justice issues relevant to the field of practice. It's a great opportunity to gain insight to how the industry works, develop professional skills and gain work experience. So we have 6 current clinic opportunities at the moment. We've got our youth law, we've got community law, environmental law, international law, prison legal clinic, and our law and development. So with the first 5, they're run semester-based, so they'll be semester 1 and 2, and with the law development clinic, that is run in summer. So to be eligible for the clinics, you have to be an ANU Bachelor of Law student or a JD student, but only Bachelor of Law students can apply for law and development clinic due to the NCP funding. You do have to meet course prerequisites for the clinics that you wish to undertake, and you have to submit an application before the deadline. And you can only complete 1 clinic across your entire degree. So how you can apply, our students receive notification via the ANU email account when the application has been opened. Your applications are on our Career Hub portal, and you can apply for 2 clinics. So you can apply for 2 clinics, but if you get accepted into both of them, you can only accept one of them. And there will be a written part of the component and a video response as part of the application. At the end, I noticed that some were taking photos. At the end, we can send the slides through to everybody that attended as well. So we do have key application dates for our summer law and development clinic. It's open on the 14th of August, which is next week, and closes on the 3rd of September. And then we've got our semester 1 applications opening on the 25th of September to 15th of October. And now I'll head over to Big Ed. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm just going to run through what these different clinics are all about. Hopefully you'll get the fullest picture of the useful clinic, because James is going to talk about his experiences a bit later. That's our largest clinic, and we have about 20 students there, and it's a partnership with the the ACT Legal Aid Commission. So, a legal aid lawyer supervises it and the students who do placement. So, working with real clients, young people that come in with all sorts of legal issues. So, you would be helping to interview those clients and then working out with the solicitor on duty what the legal advice to the client will be. Our community law clinic is one that I'm convening, and that's down at Canberra Community Law, which is literally across Barry Drive from the end of ANU. So we have 12 students there these days, two of whom are working with the Darawang Human Rights Program, which is an outreach program to the Aboriginal community, and the other 10 are working in all sorts of other areas, such as street law, which is an outreach program to people who experience homelessness, domestic violence service, lots and lots of housing issues. And all these clinics, but I think particularly community law and youth law, are a huge insight into what it's like to be a community legal worker. Very, very different from private practice or from government practice. Some of you may well be paralegals or interested in paralegals, and the real difference with this is that your clients are not paying you. So you don't have to, keep your billable hours and all that, but you really see the way the law impacts on people in a very difficult way for many of them, or the way ignorance of legal rights means people basically get screwed around by the system, and it takes a lawyer to often assist and work with the client to get them their rights and get a better outcome for them. Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but I won't. Environmental Law Clinic is working with the Environmental Defenders Office lawyers. So that is now the national, except for Victoria, environmental agency, and it's obviously focused on environmental law stuff. So you work on tasks on your clinic day, supervised by an Environmental Defenders Office lawyer, and attend weekly seminars, which are given by the convener. International Law Clinic is a really interesting one. It's virtual in the sense that you don't meet the client, but they are real clients. So I think some of the clients that group's been working with have been investigating human rights abuses in the Russia-Ukraine war. So really interesting and important work. And as well as working on a project for those clients, there are seminars in which students learn about the practice of international law as opposed to the theory. And so the presenters can include government lawyers, NGO lawyers, etc. And the Prisoner Legal Clinic is a bit different in that that's a group of students who go with the convener, who's Sarush, to the prison and talk to people in prison and ask them what areas of law they'd like to know about. And so the students then research the area of law and have a discussion with prisoners about that law. So that's more a community legal education type slant than the others where you're working with individual clients. Yeah. So I can't answer questions about any of those later, but we might stop and just show it the other.
Oh,
Yeah, well, and then yes,
Yeah.
is that okay?
yeah, you're next. Yeah.
Isn't okay. So I'm the convener for the Law and Development Clinic, which is 4301-6301. This is the clinic that goes overseas, and we're taking for 2024, we're taking 14 students to Cambodia. And so it's a clinic, it starts December 11th, ends February 16th, but you'll spend 4 weeks in Cambodia, starting in second week of January, going into the first week of February. And there's a series of 6 NGOs that we have partnerships with, and we place 2 students at each NGO, with one NGO taking a total of 4. These NGOs are involved in access to justice issues, all right, basically trying to educate the community about legal services, legal rights. And this is part of larger efforts at, promoting rule of law and reform within the Cambodian legal system. As the convener, I'm responsible for the marketing, but these are actually really placements. So there's sort of more like internships with these NGOs while you're there. Apart from that, I guess that's really it. It's a great time. It is an immersive experience. And so you're engaging directly with Cambodian partners situated in Cambodian NGO offices who are dealing with Cambodian constituencies. So there is a cultural gap that you work with. You are working in English. So if anything, for those of you who are very comfortable with your English language skills and very uncomfortable with any foreign language skills, never fear. If anything, the Cambodian NGOs actually want to have placements with students who are coming from English language speaking backgrounds because it's something that's imperative for the work that they do because they're dealing with donors whose primary language is English. Right? So it's a weird dynamic that plays out in Cambodia. The purpose of the clinic, even though the placements are with access to justice organizations, is to give you as students an understanding of difficulties in promoting international norms regarding rule of law within developing country contexts. And out of that, give you a greater awareness of the kinds of career opportunities that exist outside of just, say, working at law firms in Australia or working for public service, either at the federal or state level, and actually finding out the kinds of careers that are available in the NGO sector. So a lot of these NGOs, they're funded by entities like USAID, AusAid, now DFAT, UN, and then various other organizations. And so there's an entire ecosystem of those kinds of careers, those kinds of NGOs that are available out there. And this is an opportunity for you to sort of become aware as to those kinds of jobs. And it makes for a very interesting kind of a career path. And indeed, some students that have undertaken this clinic before have found very fascinating careers outside of Australia, doing things other than, say, corporate law or civil service. Thanks.
What, but the opportunities. Yeah. Like, so when you apply for a clinic, the conveners of the different clinics will assess your application, and you'll be giving a short video on why you want to do this particular clinic. But one of the things, if there's more students applying than places, that we look for is a sort of commitment or an interest in social justice type work. So if you've done volunteer work before you applied for the clinics, because often people don't apply for clinics until they're in their latter years of their degree, we take into account, well, you've shown some commitment to social justice. You're not asking to go to this clinic just because it's going to teach you some legal skills. You're also interested in giving back in the sense of giving something to the community sector. So the Law Reform and Social Justice Program, which I'm really happy you've all read about at ANU, has a lot of projects on the go that are all run by volunteer students. And these are some of them. They ebb and flow a bit according to student interest. But the ones on the go at the moment are the ones that you can see there. One I know most about is the Law Students for Climate Accountability. But again, I can answer questions on that later. But the point is, there's a lot of stuff going on that looks at the impact of law on different groups in society and is interested in, for example, some of the students in these projects write submissions to Parliament about law reform or do community education projects or whatever. So that's the sort of stuff going on. And if you're interested in the area that the clinics all operate in, then again, you might find something of interest in the Law Reform and Social Justice Program. And that may well count towards your application for a clinic. Yeah.
Now I'd like to invite James to come up and speak.
Yeah, so my name's James, and I'm a fourth year student. And I undertook the program last semester. So as Vivian mentioned, The Youth Law Clinic is a non-profit legal service that primarily caters to youth age 12 to 25 years of age. It deals with a myriad of legal matters such as residential tenancy, minor crime, employment and discrimination. And in terms of the ANU elected program that runs as part of it, that involves one full day a week at the clinic, plus a weekly seminar and some written assessments on the side. So a few months on from finishing my tenure at the Youth Law Clinic, I can definitely say that my decision to sign up for the program was worth it. From the nurturing but also challenging environment that you get to be a part of, to the invaluable skills and experiences that you gain along the way, the clinic offers a fantastic opportunity. As someone who is quite introverted myself and has never worked in a legal workplace previously, I was initially intimidated by the prospect of working at the clinic. The responsibility of conducting face-to-face interviews with clients and then being expected to think on my feet to help resolve legal issues initially filled me with unease. At times, the problems of the clients could also be quite confronting. One particular client who I dealt with had come to us over an alleged assault incident, and it's fair to say I felt a bit out of my depth initially. Ultimately, though, the nurturing and supportive environment at the clinic allowed me to overcome my initial apprehension. The easygoing and good-humoured approach of the clinic's in-house lawyers, Michael and Adam, created a culture where everyone felt comfortable enough to embrace the challenges and not be too worried about making mistakes. As a result, I was able to walk away from the clinic with a plethora of legal and non-legal skills and experiences that will hold me in good stead in my professional life going forward. For example, skills such as communicating effectively with clients, thinking critically about problems in a time-pressured setting, and navigating and applying complex legislation are some of the competencies that the clinic helps to develop. Thus, the program allowed me to grow not only my legal expertise as a budding young lawyer, but also as a person more generally. This is just the surface, though, of what the Youth Law Clinic experience has to offer. In this modern age of online lectures and diminished campus attendance, the clinic also represents a great way to actually meet and engage with other ANU law students in a meaningful way. Furthermore, the act of giving time to others who, by themselves, are often helpless in the face of the law's esotericism is reason enough. Cliche as it might sound, it's fulfilling and humbling to be able to help real-world people with real-world problems. Finally and relatedly, the clinic's emphasis on reflection has spurred me to think deeply about law's place in society, particularly within the sphere of social justice. In this way, the program has prompted me to contemplate the sort of lawyer I want to become and the areas of law that I want to work in. So if you're thinking about signing up for the Youth Law Clinic, there are a few things to keep in mind to ensure that you get the most out of the experience. The first thing I'd say is to embrace the unknown. Most law students who sign up for the program would have little to no experience working in a law-related workplace before. So everyone is in a similar boat. The in-house lawyers and your fellow law students who are there to help and answer any questions that you might have. Trust that you'll get the hang of the clinic's rhythm and that any initial apprehension will soon dissipate. Secondly, aim to adopt a respectful and open-minded approach. The clinic deals with vulnerable and trauma-affected individuals who can sometimes be difficult to communicate with or assist. Understanding and empathizing with their background, story, and circumstances are vital to building a rapport so that you can then lend legal aid effectively. Finally, try to have fun. A good human approach to the work at the clinic will manifest as enthusiasm in dealings with clients and colleagues, and will also make your experience a lot more enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
everyone can appreciate that. I'm going to transition now into internships. So any questions you have about clinics, James or Vivian, you can say them until the end. We'll move on now into internships. So moving away from clinics, where we talked about doing placements with a group of students, an internship is where you do an individual work experience. So at ANU, ANU College of Law, we offer internships where you can gain professional experience, deepen your awareness of potential career opportunities in the field that you choose and apply to, as well as carry out a law-based research project in a legal professional setting for career towards your degree. So we currently offer 3 types of internships. We offer college-arranged internships, where we will provide you an opportunity to apply to an organization, and self-arranged internships, where you can come to us with your own internship that you've found with an organization, whether it be an ACT government or a non-for-profit organization. And the final one is our international internships. These are usually conducted outside of Australia, and often or not, they're non for credit, but they're a great experience to have on your resume if you're thinking of taking your degree outside of Australia and so on. So within the internship experience, like clinics, we have eligibility criteria. Number 1 being, you must be a Bachelor of Law student, Juris Doctor student, a Master of Law student, or a Master of International Law and Diplomacy. Also, there's a condition that you must have completed 5 1,000 or 6,000 level courses, generally your first compulsory year or second year, before you can do an internship. Secondly, like clinics, we've got the application process. You must apply before the deadline. As you've noticed with the clinics and internships, we open applications a couple months before the semester. So if you're planning on doing an internship or a clinic, let's say in your 4th or 5th year, make sure that you look ahead of time and plan, because applications will open earlier than expected. And the last point for eligibility, you can only complete 1 internship towards your law degree. So you can complete 1 clinic, 1 internship, and 1 practicum, but you can't do 2. So you have to make the right choice for what kind of internship experience you want to apply for. The application process is quite simple. Like with clinics, we send out notifications to all our students about when the applications open. They're all hosted on the ANU Career Hub portal, and you'll get to read each individual's, for example, college arrange. You'll get to read the job advertisement. So you'll find out about what organization you're applying for, what skills are they looking for, what kind of work you're going to be doing, and how many days you're going to be doing for. Again, the application process is very similar to clinics. You'll have 1 written response and 1 video response. We treat the video response as if you were going to answer an interview question. So it's really important that when you're submitting these applications, you think about your presentation. What kind of information do you want to share with the organization? And what kind of experience do you want to get out? So in that in mind, our application dates, so the upcoming intake will be for summer 2024. As you can see, we're opening up in late August until September, college arranged. So that's the ones where you apply to our college arranged internships. But if you find an internship during this period, let's say with your employer, for example, you can definitely apply for a self-arranged internship from August to October. And then we have the semester 1 dates. An eagle-eyed person might have noticed we have some different course codes at the top. We've got laws 4230, laws 6230, and laws 4430, laws 8430. Jonathan will speak a little bit more about the difference with those types of internship codes. But essentially, these are the same opening times for all these types of internships. And make sure you just keep any questions at the end. We're more than happy to stay back and talk to you. Okay, I'm going to move on to Jonathan now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll preface my comment, or comments plural, with just sort of an explanatory thing. The way to sort of think about this is that when you enroll for an internships unit at the College of Law, it's for the purposes of getting academic credit, right? So, you are free to do anything you want in terms of getting a job, getting an internship, And there are students who get internships and never get academic credit. And, that's outside of our scope. So what we're talking about tonight is about getting academic credit for some kind of an internship. So, there are different ways to get the internship. So the self-arranged internship is where you have an internship that you've already secured. It's on your own. You want to find a way to get academic credit for it. So that's where we have the self-arranged internship. The other way is that, you want to trust us. And in which case you come to us for the college-arranged internship with already a prearranged process of getting academic credit. So that's sort of the way you want to distinguish it, right? Trying to get academic credit for some kind of work experience that you have set up. Now, in terms of distinguishing between, say, laws 4230, 6230 versus the 4430, 8430. So the primary distinction there is what's the nature of the work that you're doing, when you're at the internship. There were some situations where we have students who go to internships where it's very research intensive, and it's just, very heavily about trying to do research, writing up reports. And as a result of that, it's very similar to the kinds of research papers that you submit through your College of Law experience in terms of, your coursework. For those kinds of internships and those kinds of environments, we have 4230, 6230. Okay, so that's the very research intensive kind of course credit. And it's a situation there that we're going to expect you to have something that's equivalent to a 3,000 word research essay. If it's 4230, for those of you who are enrolled as JD students, there's a heavier requirement. Is it 3,000 words? Is it 4,000? 3,000 words? Yeah. And it goes up if you're a JD student above that to 4,000 words. So again, if you're doing something that's very research intensive, where you're already planning on doing reports of some kind, I would recommend doing 4230, 6230, because that way it's much more compatible with what you're doing. It's a capstone unit. So that's the one thing to sort of to remember, that in terms of the number of capstone units that you're allowed to enroll in, 4230, 6230 counts towards the capstone. 4430, 8430, this is for situations where you have internships where you're not doing research, you're doing other things, right? So in other words, that it's cases where you're at a law firm that just simply wants you to sit in with client meetings and take notes, write transcripts of client meetings, where you're working up at the Parliament, and again, they just want you to sit in on sessions and just transcribe what's happening, or maybe just write internal memos, just summarizing certain events, or they want you to write up a summary of a draft piece of legislation, these kinds of things, right? So if it's a non-law setting, sometimes you're working in an environment where all they really want you to do is just be the gopher. Yeah, they want you to go out and retrieve a contract, make sure somebody signs a contract. They want you to go out and get coffee, those kinds of things. But nevertheless, for you, it's an opportunity to get your foot in the door, to get you connected to a professional network who can help you with a career in the future. So we acknowledge that those kinds of internships very much do exist, and we provide 4430, 8430 for that because it's much less research intensive. We expect much less from you in terms of your assessments. So in that situation, if you're an LLB student, we're asking something that's equivalent to a 2,000 word research essay. So the keyword is equivalent to. So you'd have to talk with me to figure out what are the number of hours that you're expending on your internship. Does it equate to something that's equivalent to the number of hours for a 2,000 word paper of some kind? If you're an LLM student, it can be a capstone unit. That's hence 8430. But then again, that's a heavier requirement in terms of what we expect for an assessment, a heavier assessment in terms of the number of hours that we would expect to see you put in. So once again, you would talk to me to figure out, are you putting in the number of hours that would be comparable to something like a 3,000 word paper of some kind, right? So we've had students who've submitted work products in terms of, say, so one student who came out of an internship in Rome with Unit Law, she basically submitted a table of all the case summaries that she had written, right? And I said, okay, that's labor. That's equivalent to a 3,000 word essay of some kind. So thumbs up, great. Another situation, there was a student who was working for a news media channel, right? Because they do want law students working at news media organizations. And basically he was writing up summary of the draft transcripts of legislation that he had provided to journalists. Because journalists, they don't understand the law, so they want somebody to sort of give them, simple summaries of legislation. So he basically just submitted that, right? So I said, okay, that's, roughly comparable to a 2,000, the amount of work you would put in for a 2,000 word research essay. Okay. So that's a distinguish between these different course codes. And that's the way you sort of distinguish those. So it's basically meant to help you figure out a way to get course credit for internships that you find, right? Either through college or on your own. Now, something I want to also add, because it's not on here, we have had an increasing number of requests for internships outside of Australia. So most of this is about internships in Australia. And we've definitely been expanding to internships that are outside of Australia. What happens quite often is international students who are coming. So for example, students who are coming from Malaysia, Singapore, mainland China, India, these other places, quite often they find internships in their own countries and their places of origin. It's still possible to get course credit for that, right? So this is where you have the self-arranged internship option. You're able to meet with us, talk with us. You're still able to enroll in one of the internship units and get course credit for the internship that you found in the country that's overseas, right? So there's that option that's available as well. All right, so I'll just stop there.
Jonathan? Okay, and to finish us off on the internship space, I'd like to invite Christian Flynn, who has completed a college-arranged internship with the ACT government. He'll be talking a little bit about his experience.
Thank you. My name is Christian. I use he and pronouns. I'm a sixth-year law student. I think what James said before really does apply in great deal to an internship as much as it does a clinic in lots of ways. But I'll give you a little bit of background. So I was at the ACT government. I worked in the crime prevention team. I specifically worked on a number of things, but broadly speaking, it was about there was an increasing amount of work the crime prevention team was undertaking. There was elements of research. So I spent a lot of time doing research on what crime prevention was, what was effective, doing comparative studies with jurisdictions across Australia, but also with jurisdictions overseas. And that was what I spent a lot of my time doing. I tried to do as many different things, and I specifically requested that from my supervisor. And I think if I can give you some advice or some insight into why I think I had a good experience is that people want to know that you're interested, that you're active, that you're engaged. So I think that they were pretty impressed when I said, I think I've done the tasks you've set me. What else can I do? Or even I've enjoyed the tasks I'm doing. I'll continue to work on them, but I'd be interested in doing more. So I said, I want to tag along to meetings. I want to just sit in the room and see what's going on, even if I don't understand anything. And a lot of the time, your supervisor or whoever it is you're working with will probably really appreciate that. They don't expect you to set the world on fire and do something totally unheard of as an intern, but they do want to know that you're interested. And a lot of the time, they're looking for people who might join that industry, that business, and whatnot. And so, which is great. I've got a great connection now with the ACT government and talking about a future of employment there for me. I think some other sort of reflections, try not to repeat James too much here, but I think that, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to say you don't understand the task. I find that generally speaking, wherever you go, there's a really good chance that you'll be paired up with someone who is passionate about the work, that they don't want interns. They want interns to be with people who are really invested in whatever it is that the organization itself is more broadly working on. And as such, those people will love to talk about the thing that they work on. So prompting them is never something that I've found people didn't want to do. If I said, I don't understand this, tell me more, every single time people would be pretty happy to do that because it is something that they're really passionate about. So if you don't understand what you're doing, or you want to know more, or you want to orient yourself well, just ask as many questions. I only ask questions for about a week or two. And then once you understand it, you can get down and just do the work. I think that's a big part of an internship, probably as much as a clinic or any other job really is just, like you just got to do the work at some point that you've been assigned and just get on with it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Nothing I wrote for them is going to be published immediately. Someone will check it over, thank God. And I'm sure it's the same for wherever you might work, and that they'll, you can just sort of be brave, put down what you're working on, and not be afraid of it. And then like actively seek out feedback is another thing. If you think that people aren't happy or not happy, but not like they see a concern or they see something that's maybe missing from whatever work you're doing on. Again, I was working primarily on one big piece of work, which was the crime prevention budget, which was just how we spend money, giving it to local organizations and the ACT that work on crime prevention. But if someone disagrees with, a big part of what you're working on, like seek that out, find out about it and have a good discussion about it, because a lot of these, workplaces, you want to be, achieving some kind of consensus on the work that you're doing. Particularly, I was left to my own devices quite significantly after a couple of weeks, which I really enjoyed. They said, look, here's the project. I hope you understand it. If you don't, just let us know. And so then it was up to me. I had a bit of ownership over that task. And I think you shouldn't also be afraid to request that ownership. I found it very liberating to be able to be in charge of something and just work on it at my own pace and in my own way. I think that opening a broader dialogue with your supervisor at that internship is probably the overall feedback I have there. I think that the other thing I wanted to say is that, I was very lucky. I was in a paid internship. Not all of them are. I do want to say, I was very fortunate. I'm very thankful to the ACT government and to Anya for helping to arrange that. This was, a college arranged one. Not all of them are, which is unfortunate, but I hope that continues. And that was a good discussion I actually had with my internship at the end of my time there. Was I had a debriefing session and they asked for honest feedback, and I said about having it paid and like other things like what I've mentioned was really, really good in making it an accessible program. So that's just, again, another reflection. Yeah.
A big thank you to our program directors and our student speakers today. We're now going to finish up, and I think we're going to go with Christian's advice, which is ask lots of questions. So basically, any questions for our program directors, our student speakers, or our staff, feel free to ask it now. I'll open it up. If you're not comfortable asking questions in an open forum, you can wait until we finish with this section. See ya.
Does the part law and development open to restructure students?
No, it's not. It's only just to the LLB students due to NCP funding.
NCP is which is federal government funding. So that's fine.
So the new combo plan funding, just for those of you who don't know, we have a grant of it's $3,000 for each student to go towards travel expenses because it is expensive to travel at the moment. But the condition of the NCD funding is it's for LV students, so that's the situation that we're dealing with.
How are the internship programs?
Well, they might fix that question.
Yeah. Right. So there is a criteria in a rubric for the marking of submissions and assessments, but all units, so regardless of what course code you're following, there's a reflective component. So basically allowing you to reflect on what it is that you felt you learned from the internship, what you felt, how you developed professionally and personally as a result of the internship. That's a minority of the assessment. The majority assessment is usually, some kind of a work product. So if it's related to 4230, 6230, that's the more research intensive one. And that's where we want to see something that's more similar to a typical research essay, a citation, that kind of stuff. And we'll mark it as such, right? So you'll see a rubric that very much follows like the kind of rubrics you see for research essays. For 4430, 8430, it's a little bit different. And the criteria in terms of the work product, it has to be some kind of work product that reflects some level of analysis. And the criteria that you see on the rubric is very much about, was it clear that you exercised some level of critical analysis in the course of your internship? However, the way we sort of resolve some of the uncertainties is you have to meet with conveners, somewhere in the first 2 weeks of your internship to discuss what it is that you're actually doing. And then out of that, figure out, well, what is it that we can actually treat as an assessment in a way that's fair, not just for you, but for everybody else.
There's also a class summary. So for each internship course, whether it be Laws 2.3 or Laws 4.30 and postgrad, there'll be a class summary on programs and courses where you can actually read each assessment piece there is and the learning outcomes and rubric for each one.
I would like to ask, as an international student, are we eligible to apply for internship working for a government? Because I heard some criteria were saying that if you want to work for a government, you have to be a permanent resident first. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So with federal government positions, there is a requirement for you to have a baseline clearance, which is security clearance. And often that requires you to be an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. However, with the ACT government, they may not have that requirement. Therefore, they'll open it up to both international students and domestic students. So if you're ever unsure, you just need to read the job advertisement and we'll make it clear whether international students will be able to apply. That being said, a self-arranged internship is a great opportunity for you to bring something. So as Jonathan mentioned, if you find something in your home country and you want to go back and work in your home country while you're still doing your degree, you can ask to have that applied as a self-arranged internship. Or if you find something in Australia with an employer here, you don't need a baseline security clearance, example, not with the federal government, you can have that applied as a self-arranged internship. But we'll always make it clear whether domestic and international students can apply to an opportunity.
The other day, we in this internship, we calculated into the requirements of the PLT in the future.
No. You mean the PLT, the practice learning? Yeah. So generally no. So that's two separate trainings. So the purpose of the internship or the clinic is to receive credit as a law elective towards a degree. If you're in the Juris Doctor, you have the capstone requirement. And going forward, LOB, if anyone's a Bachelor of Law student that's gone in 2021, you'll also have the capstone requirement. So it's not linked to the PLT.
Yes, you should look up the PLT requirements if you're interested, because if you are working to a lawyer in the internship and doing a certain number of hours a week for a certain time, it may be that you can count that as your placement for the PLT. But you need to, that would be a completely separate process, but it may be that the internship meets that requirement as well. But look up the PLT requirements to find out.
Good. For our purposes, we don't do PLT, but you can be connected.
We also have a couple of questions online. The first one is from Margarita. She's asking Jonathan if both types of internships, so we talked about the different course codes, if they both can be counted as a capstone or if only one of them can be counted as a capstone. So let us ask you. Sorry, I didn't hear the question. So you know how about the different course codes for the law internships?
Yeah.
So Margarita wants to know if she can count either of them as a capstone.
Yes. So for the Bachelor of Laws Honours capstone course, you can only count Laws 4230.
This is because it has a greater research component to it, have a longer research project, and that meets the capstone requirements for the honours component of the degree. So you can still do Laws 4430, but you can't count it towards the capstone. You'll have to do another list.
For the LLM.
LLM doesn't have a capstone, but the Juris Doctors, you can count Laws 6230 and Laws 8430. So you get a little bit more flexibility on counting the internship that way.
They're both capstones for JD.
Yeah.
For JD stats are both capstones.
Yeah, you have a different requirements for your.
Thank you. We also have a question from Fionn. Is there scope to do both the supervised research project and to get course credit for a research-based self-arranged internship, or does this exceed the credits available for capstones?
You have to do two separate
Capstones. Basically asking should you do 2 capstones.
You can't do 2 capstones because you can only do 1 internship course. So think of it like if you were to do 1 course, like Laws 4230 or Laws 4430, you can only pick 1. If you do 2 under the code, we don't give more credit for 6 units.
So yeah, I think also there's a second question in there, which is, can you do the supervised research project, so the RSP?
Yes, you can. You can,
Yes, but you can only count either of them as your capstone.
Yes, yeah. So the capstone actually has a minimum requirements. So you must complete a minimum of 6 units, which means you can do as many as you want off the list, varying rules about eligibility and what you're counting. But as it's not an internship, the SRP, it won't count as an internship. So you can do both of them.
Right. So, I think the way to remember this is if you're really ambitious and you do both SRP and 4230, only one of them can be the capstone.
Yes.
You can do both if you want to, but only one of them can be the capstone.
And remembering the SRP is like 12 units. So it's very intensive. It's considered like a very intensive course. So if you're going to work 1 or 2 days a week, plus doing that, you really have to rethink about how much time and the workload. So we recommend thinking about what kind of internship you're doing in conjunction with like clinics and such. We would not encourage any of our students to do SRP, a clinic, and an internship in 1 semester.
Sure.
You would suffer a lot. We don't want it that way. But if you're eager, think about how you're spacing it. If you're at the beginning of your degree or even in your 2nd or 3rd year, come to us. We host student appointments. We're more than happy to sit down with you and plan out these experiences so that you can get the most out of your degree.
We don't always usually recommend doing a clinic and an internship in the same semester, depending on which clinic and what type of internship you have as well. And that's a question you can come to us and we can help you figure that out as well.
Well, I'm just wondering, this conflict with any potential exchange program, because I think one of the sides said that you're going to do 1 internship throughout the degree.
Yes, so I think you may be referring to AMIC, is that right?
Yeah.
As the other one, an exchange program. So if you were to go on exchange, usually our law students will go on exchange in many years. If you go on exchange, you can't complete any courses at AMU while you're overseas. So there's a general rule that if you're on exchange, you're dedicating that time and workload to that institution. So you can't do, for example, let's say an online Australian internship, 6 units, unless you have come to the college.
I mean, like, if you do an internship before the exchange program, is that allowed?
Well, you mean when you should do it?
Yeah.
It really depends. You have a minimum requirement of completing the 1,000 courses. And depending on your compulsories, we would probably sit down and talk to you about when it's the best time to go on exchange and when it's the best time to go on internship. But yes, you can do both. You can do both. Yeah. There's no delays.
Because next semester is my final semester, I'm a little worried that there is a possibility I failed for my applications. Is there any possibility of this? And if it's so, and because next semester is my final semester, I might apply for a sort of arrangement by the college if there is a vacancy in any program.
So you're worried that if you don't get any clinics or internships, you won't leave.
Like you're requiring apply, but I failed.
if you didn't get any of the opportunities. Yeah. So I will create this disclaimer. These opportunities are competitive. We have more placements in the clinics program per clinic than we do with the internships. The college arranges internships. Usually it's only one placement per organisation. So they are competitive. That's why we offer the self-arranged, to give you time and ability to find your own internships and still get course credit for them. If you're worried about failing or not getting a placement, I would concentrate your efforts on working out what kind of placements you want to work with, whether it be clinics or internships, and really making sure the applications are solid so that you're giving detailed information to the hosts, making it clear, or even joining the law reform and social justice. As Vivian mentioned, having that pre-experience makes your application more attractive to the clinics. And then there are other options. We can have a meeting with you if you want about there are other options on that capstone link you can do to still meet your choice.
You can also book a meeting with us, and then we will still for your through what the application looks like and how.
So I'm not going to lie. The college-grade internships, some of them are intensely competitive because everybody wants to work at certain organizations. And so what we see is a trend of a lot of students who, they're very aware that just how competitive things can get. And a lot of them just are very proactive and they go with the self-arranged option because they figure that they'd rather get something guaranteed that they want as opposed to then going for a competitive one and then not getting it at all. So it's a personal decision what you want to do and how comfortable you are. But at least if you do the self-arranged one, you still have a chance of doing something that's capstone.
And you can apply to both clinics and internships, which will widen your.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the clinics are not as that. So there's also, and also I know at Canberra Community Law, and I suspect that the youth law is a bit like this too. They're very open to giving experienced students who wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to work in a legal.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just say it now. The most competitive, in terms of the college degrees, internships, the most competitive ones, like Treasury, everybody wants to work for Attorney General. Everybody is trying to work at Attorney General. The High Court, everybody, So just so you know.
And you can use, because we advertise the jobs before the applications, so you can use that time to research those organizations, maybe even the lesser known ones, and actually spend time getting to know them before you apply. So you can it makes it much more memorable that a host remembers that you actually know something about them, that you've taken the time to research what they do. So you can use that opportunity to get in with the other guys, not just the big guns. Okay, you have a question? Oh, if not, we'll be hanging around for 5 minutes or so, but thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to your applications. Thank you.
Thank you.